Nupur, if you want to be happy in this life, you must get married to a good Guju girl. I slowly put down my Game Boy. Mom, I'm only 10. Let me explain. I'm the firstborn child of Indian immigrants, specifically from Gujarat state, which is why other Indians lovingly call us Gujus. Now, Gujus are known the world over for their entrepreneurial spirit, their hard work ethic, and for, well, being cheap.
Let's call it frugal.
Yeah, let's go with frugal. My parents immigrated to the US in the 1970s to create a better life for their kids, and while America was the land of opportunity, they fiercely wanted to retain some portion of their culture. Fearing that me and my younger siblings wouldn't be in touch with our heritage, they constantly told us how not to be like our American friends. Now, some of their advice was totally reasonable, but a lot of it was just kind of crazy. Like, Nupur, why are you wasting the extra Taco Bell hot sauce? If you have extra packets, just cut off the top and squeeze it out into the jar like your dad and me. Now, to this day, if you go to my parents' fridge, you will see 3 recycled salsa containers containing mild, medium, and fire. But when it came to the person I was going to marry, being with a Guju girl was my only option.
Now, the only advice that I got when I was growing up about what type of life partner I should find was whomever makes you happy, Laura. I mean, I knew deep down my dad, who's an academic Jewish guy, probably wanted me to also marry a Jewish guy, but I also had confidence that he would respect my choice and welcome whomever I chose. And my mom was so liberal that she would welcome absolutely anyone. She would be delighted if I brought home a gay boyfriend. So the field was really wide open for me, and so open that as I approached my late 20s, I had never had a long-term serious boyfriend.
So when it came to the person I was going to end up with, I was really torn. I mean, maybe my parents had a point. I mean, maybe it would be easier to marry someone who had my same upbringing, my same traditions. Maybe they would understand me better. My first long-term girlfriend in college was actually with a Guju girl who was introduced to me by a mutual family friend. We loved the same food, we could watch Bollywood movies together, and damn, she could rock a sari. My second long-term girlfriend was actually with a lily-white American. From her, I learned to appreciate artisanal kale, hybrid cars, paying full price, like real American things. But for reasons of timing and circumstance, things just didn't work out. And by the time I hit my late 20s, I could see myself with an Indian or someone else. And frankly, I didn't know what I was going to do.
And by the time I hit my late 20s, I had dated a lot of guys with accents. I mean, one guy with an accent, and it's just 2 people from different countries who like each other. But when you've dated an English, Irish, French, Swedish, and Chilean guy, each for precisely 3 months, there's something else going on. And for me, it was their accents disguised that each of them had a fatal flaw. Like, in a French accent, I am a connoisseur of tea, and currently I only drink rooibos. Sounds pretty intriguing. But in an American accent, I'm a connoisseur of tea, and currently I only drink rooibos. It's pretty obvious that this guy is
a pretentious douche.
I am not proud to say that every one of these relationships ended with me finding something that these guys took themselves too seriously about and me teasing them relentlessly until one of us broke up with the other. Like with the Chilean, the last of this string of foreign relationships, he confided in me in a moment of deep sharing. Laura, I have seen, physically seen the aura of people's souls. Now, it turns out that he saw the so-called aura of people's souls when he took peyote, a hallucinogen. And he really didn't like when I kept on going up to him, "Do you see my aura now?" I just couldn't help myself. So I was kind of despairing that I would ever find that guy that could really make me laugh and that could laugh at himself. And I was not very hopeful in the realm of love when I headed to my friend's house for a dinner party in March 2008.
So I go to this dinner party where I only know the host. I walk in at the same time as one of the other guests, a beautiful Indian woman who introduces herself as Anjali Shah. Suddenly, a little curried avatar of my mother pops onto my shoulder. Nupur, she's a Shah. That means she's a Guju. My mom just does a little Bhangra dance of excitement. And maybe she's right. I mean, Anjali is really beautiful, she's kind, she's getting her PhD in education. As Anjali and I start talking, I glance over my mini-mom, who seems to be busily picking out wedding saris. Oh, don't mind me, Nupur, but do you prefer the purple or the green? Eventually, Anjali goes to the kitchen, and I continue talking to the host.
When I entered the dinner party, I hear a loud male voice from the other room trying to use the scientific method to argue that The Big Lebowski is a work of genius. I peek around the corner and see a tall, dark, handsome stranger who's clutching what suspiciously looks like a very cheap bottle of wine he must have brought for the hostess.
Oh my God, I totally forgot to take the price tag off the 3-bottle of $2 Chuck I brought from Trader Joe's. And I'm like just scraping it off, and when I hear a voice from the hallway.
Hi, I see you're an aficionado of fine wines.
Yeah, you got me. I'm Noop.
Noop, like Snoop Dogg?
Why, yes. It is like Snoop Doggy Dogg. Without the S, or the Doggy Dog.
I'm immediately struck that I am totally charmed by this guy, despite his lack of an accent. At dinner, we sit on opposite sides of the table, stealing occasional glances. After dinner, the party moves to the living room, where, for God knows what reason, the hostess has one book on her coffee table, which is She Comes First, The Thinking Man's Guide to Pleasing a Woman. Chapter titles include Scent and Sensibility, The Tongue is Mightier Than the Sword. For even more unexplainable reasons, someone decides that we should play charades with the chapter titles.
That was you.
Okay, it was me. We break up into teams. Noop and I are on opposing sides. And I just want to be clear, these were G-rated charades, even though the chapter titles were not. Noop's enthusiasm and his energy and his skill, really, in acting out chapter titles such as Posterior Pizzazz makes my heart flutter. And for the first time, I've met someone I feel a genuine connection with.
So by the end of the night, I noticed that Laura has a refreshing and really funny take on the world. I take a look at my mini-mom, whose dancing has slowed. Nupur, watch it. Don't fuck with your future. Now, of course, she doesn't curse, but you get the point. Bapre bap, or should I say oy vey. What's a poor Guju boy to do? On the one hand, there's Anjali, who is a perfect fit for my family and who totally get along with everyone I know. My family mostly. And then there's Laura, who has a refreshing and fun take on the world. Folks, this isn't an easy decision, but I banished my mini-mom, and the next day I emailed Laura to ask her out.
The email subject line is Viva la Vulva, one of the chapter titles of the book. I accept his invitation, and we go out on our first date, sparks flying. A week later, pretty soon, we're boyfriend, girlfriend.
So after a year of laughter and innumerable bad puns, I decide it's time to introduce her to my family back in North Carolina. So I call home to tell my folks, Mom, Dad, don't freak out, but I'm bringing home a girl. Now, in the Indian tradition, this is akin to getting engaged. Oh, wonderful, Nupur. I'll just call the guru and ask him about auspicious wedding dates. Mom, you might want to call the rabbi, too.
We get our airplane tickets to go down to North Carolina. We're coming from Boston. It's May, so my pale white skin has not seen sun for a while. For the first time, and for the only time in my life, I used some self-tanning lotion. Just to brown myself up a bit.
So we arrive at my parents' house, and To my relief, my mom welcomes Laura with a big, welcoming hug. She steps back, though, and says, "Are you sure you don't have just a little bit of Indian in you?" And then in an effort to relieve my anxiety, I say, "You wish you had a little Indian in you."
No, I do not have any Indian relatives. Fortunately, his parents don't get his joke, and they warmly lead me into the kitchen where his mom has cooked up a feast.
My parents and Laura get to know each other the next day, but when Laura and I go to our separate beds that night, I laid awake worrying. It wasn't like I thought that my parents were going to disown me or anything. It's just that I wanted them to love her as much as I did. But I knew things were going to be fine the next morning when I come downstairs to see Laura and my mom standing over our kitchen table with scissors in their hands and hundreds of Taco Bell packets in neat little piles.
Look, Noop, I've got all the milds.
I think my mom just wanted someone who would share in our family traditions and sure, maybe some of our quirks.
And she did get that big Indian wedding. We did too. We've been married for 15 years. We've had a lot of laughs. We have 2 wonderful children who, for better or for worse, we brought here.
And for my mom, even though I didn't end up with a good Jew, at least I found a good Jew.